Hello everybody. Right now in Colorado we're coming out of winter, and up in the high country where the trout are, the waters are still frozen over and most of my fishing spots are pretty inaccessible. But down here in the valley the ice is starting to melt away, the waters are starting to open up, and I've really been getting into bass fishing. And I recently come across a new rig setup called the Double Fluke. In other places it may be called the tandem rig, the Zulu rig. I've also heard it called the dancing rig. So depending on where you live, you're going to be calling it something different, and maybe even more names that I've never even heard of. But it's worked really well for me with bass, as well as changing the lures on it. I've had really good success with fishing for trout on these rigs as well. So I'm going to explain the rig setup for bass first, and then I'll explain how to change it and gear it towards trout and maybe even pike if you wanted to fish for pike. Such a beautiful day out here in Colorado. I wanted to get outside and show you how to set up the Double Fluke. So basically I've got my rod here and set up on it. I've got a swivel set up the way it should be, in line with your set, and above that I have a free floating swivel just put on there. This is tied on with whatever knot you choose to do. I use the improved clinch knot, I believe is what it's called. It's just my go-to knot. And then coming up from both swivels is a leader, and I'd actually recommend 12-pound test or above on the leader. That would greatly reduce your tangling. And the leader attached to the inline swivel is longer than the leader attached to the free floating swivel, and that will also reduce tangling. Lately I've been using Berkeley's Gulp chartreuse shads, and I'll show you how I set that up on the hook, and then I'll show you how it plays in the water. I will go straight in the nose, come out about 1/4 to a 1/2 inch down, bring it up, bring the knot inside the fluke, turn the hook over, measure where on the fluke you want the hook to be. I'll pinch the fluke. Stab right through it. You really want to prevent there being any kinks on your shad, and you want it to be relatively straight so it doesn't twist and turn in the water and it swims great. Now, as you can see, I have 2 of my shad flukes hooked up on the Double Fluke, and as I said, one is about 6 inches shorter than the other, and the shorter one is going to be your free floating swivel. Okay? And it goes around without tangling, and if it does tangle, then I grab the shorter one and just kind of bounce it around, and that'll usually get rid of the tangle. Now I'm going to show you how it plays in the water. What I like to do with it is just a lot of finesse. Just a couple short tugs, reel in the slack, a couple more short tugs. And a lot of times I'll use this where the weeds on the bottom of the lake or wherever you're fishing are, they're just so high, and there's only about 1 foot of the water, and the bass are just hanging out in the weeds, and they're just waiting for bait fish to swim over, and that's when I'll use this application. So I'm actually primarily a trout fisherman, and so when I found out about the Double Fluke, I figured out a way to gear it towards trout fishing. And so basically it's just the Double Fluke set up with the with the swivel free floating up top and the inline swivel preventing it to go from going any lower. And instead of using the flukes with the hooks, I actually am using 2 Rebels. I've also used 2 Rapalas, and I've also used 2 Castmasters, and they have all swam very well, swam normal as far as I could tell. And basically how I'll play this one for trout is I'll cast it out and I'll just reel it in at a steady speed. I might change up the speeds in which I speed to add a little bit of play, but I won't really finesse it with the rod tip because that can cause a little bit of tangling. But I just reeled it in and there's no tangling, as you can see. If it does get tangled, say the treble hook of the shorter one gets caught on the leader of the longer one like that, you just bounce it and it becomes unhooked just like that. So I've been having some pretty good luck with this. I caught a nice brown trout out of the river, the Gunnison River here in town. Also, I was able to catch a rainbow trout out of Corn Lake on camera. I'll show that to you in a moment, but I wasn't actually meaning to catch a fish on camera. I was trying to show how these swim through the water, and they don't swim through the, you can't really catch them swimming through the water in the lake, so I had to do that in the bathtub. So apologize for that. You just couldn't see them swimming through the water. So anyway, here's me catching the bass on the double fluke with the flukes, and here's me catching a rainbow trout with this version of the double fluke. As always, comment, like, and subscribe. Tell me where you're fishing, what's working for you, what you're fishing for, and you know where in the world you're fishing. So please let me know in the comments anything I may have left out, and good luck to you this spring as the ice starts to thaw and the spots start to open up. Oh man, he ate the rainbow. On the double fluke, he ate the rainbow. I have a brown chasing a rainbow, he ate the rainbow.